Welcome to Overwatch, and welcome to something a little bit different. It's time for some rampant speculation, not just my own. I've been watching the pros talk about the new hero and also just the big patch changes for a little while, and I want to just try and call a little bit of how the meta might end up going, at least how it's looking at these very early stages. This is more for the pro level play, so less so for the, the sort of average pub game. This is what happens when people get coordinated and play at the highest possible level. First things first, let's go with something that I think is fairly obvious, which is if these changes stick as they are, you are going to see far less Pharah than before. This is simply because damage amplification has become a big deal right now, so now there'll be two 50% amplifications floating around pretty much constantly in every single game, with Mercy's buff and Zenyatta's Discord Orb now also a lot more viable because Zenyatta is far more viable. Pharah just will not be able to stay in the sky as long as she used to. This means that if she exposes herself, which, she is wont to do, then she's just going to get picked out the sky. This is even further compounded by the fact that A, Zenyatta is not that terrible at shooting down Pharahs, and B, McCree can now shoot down Pharahs pretty much from mid-range pretty simply. And let's talk about McCree. So, oh boy, this change. What this change means is with the combination of this change and the Mercy damage amp change, McCree can now one-shot headshot people. And you might be sat there thinking, well, what's the big deal? How often does McCree get headshots anyway? And the answer is, if you're going up against someone like Artia from Creation Esports, Valutasia from Reunited, just any of these high-level hit scan players, but those two leap into my mind, especially those two are sort of known as the two McCree players, the most solid ones around, you're going to have problems. The thing with those guys is how they aim, by the way, is they basically just they know the level they have to keep the crosshair at, basically, and they'll just keep plinking away until they land the headshot, and then you die. I played a game on the PTR, I was against Artia, and trust me, my head felt every single shot. It was brutal. I actually started to sort of just crouch, intermittently, just to try and dodge some of his bullets. It actually worked a little bit as well, I was surprised, but it's one of those things where McCree is definitely going to start making a comeback if the changes stick. And that's the big thing to me right now, is especially the Mercy change. That's the one I'm most on the fence about. The idea that you can increase her damage amp while simultaneously making her move while resurrecting. The 30% increased time on her ultimate is not a big deal, to be honest. Her ultimate's still really, really good. It will always be really, really good. I'm still not even sure that 30% is even enough to make sure that it won't be available every single fight. Still, as it is right now, I think Mercy is just way too good. She is so powerful at the moment and will just have so much of an impact in every single match. You'll basically see Mercy's damage amping and just people going on rampages constantly. The damage is through the roof, time to kill is way down, therefore Resurrect is going to be better. Let's talk about Ana. How does Ana fit into everything? Well, a lot of pros are very, very excited to play her. I know Cruz, especially from Reunited, has sort of jumped all over Ana Amari because it's a really fun support hero that is you have got so many tools for supporting your team in interesting ways. Simultaneously, you can deal really good damage. Simultaneously, you can just do a lot of cool stuff with her, and her ultimate is overpowered as fuck. And I don't say that lightly. I'm not one to sort of resort to, hyperbole on this channel that often, but her ultimate in its current state is just insane. It's ridiculous, and this is why, okay? You fire the ultimate onto someone, especially if they are moderately durable themselves, say Reaper, Soldier 76, a little bit of healing for example, Genji with his mobility, Reinhardt especially is actually really terrifying. You throw it onto someone, they run to the enemy team, they kill everyone. And it literally is kind of that simple, and it sounds insane to say it, but the only way to stop it, I watched the pros basically try and theorycraft this out all last night, and none of them could come up with a better answer than, well, just drop an Earth Shatter. Or have your own Ana try and stun the target and then make sure that no one shoots them, which, good luck with that. Or for a Graviton Surge, these big crowd control ults. Mei, by the way, actually might not be a bad answer. She's really good at stalling them out, and I think you can actually freeze the person who is ulting, so Mei actually might be a good Ana counter, but whether Mei is actually useful enough, I don't know. I don't think that ultimate warrants bringing Mei along in Mei's current state. She's just not good enough at the moment. Now, if you had to ask me how to fix Ana's ultimate, I'd just say change the damage reduction. Change it so it's like a constant heal or something on the target, so that they don't have this semi-immortality that they have. Even with a little bit of support on the target, they can basically shrug off any damage that they're taking. It's very difficult to burst down someone who's running at you with massively increased speed as well as massively increased damage. A Genji, for example, is a complete nightmare to stop. Reinhardt is just so tanky that even if the entire team focuses him down, it's really difficult to remove him. Genji's too evasive. Reaper will just be killing everyone and healing. It's redonkulous. It's absolutely redonkulous. You need a way to just blow them up and make sure that you can punish them if they do make a mistake. On the whole, I like Ana. I just think the ultimate needs a little bit of running, and it also charges way too fast. If it's going to have the current power level, it needs to charge far slower because it is game-changingly good. That is basically the I win button in a team fight. If you have an Ana and they don't, and you fire off the ultimate and they don't have a way to counter it like an Ash Shatter, you will win the fight. You should win the fight. Like, as long as the team plays well, you will win that fight, basically. Otherwise, Reaper's gonna basically remain just as strong as ever. Reaper, basically, he got a minor buff with the fact that he can now gain ultimate charge while healing, so his ultimate's gonna be charging even faster than it was, and it already charged pretty damn quickly. Reaper's become a staple in pro lineups, and that's not gonna change, especially if he can get Ana's ult, because it basically just, like, two-shots everyone in a circle around him when he has that on, and it's just insanely good, that combo. I put a video on my channel where I just minced people repeatedly with Death Blossoms, and trust me, it's incredibly difficult to stop that happening to you. In terms of tanks, Roadhog is frigged, to put it lightly. I've already sworn in this video, I don't know why I'm holding back now, but whatever. Roadhog is completely frigged, because Roadhog, well, now he has to actually self-heal himself to get ultimate charge just as fast as he used to, which, to a pub, like, that sounds great. Like, you can self-heal yourself up and you can manage to get your ultimate charge. But that basically means you need to be taking damage that you otherwise might not have been taking, and you need to be stopping and healing. Pros on Roadhog didn't actually often have to do that. They'd use Take a Breather as kind of like a tanking method to just, you know, stay alive as an emergency, but very rarely would they try and take unnecessary damage because it's giving the other team ultimate charge. It sort of shifts the tempo of the game. That's a big concept in these pro level matches, and you don't want to be doing that recklessly. So basically Roadhog's ultimate will charge a little bit slower. Some people don't consider that a big problem. Roadhog's ultimate is very, very good. It blows away Reinhardt barriers, and that's exactly what you want out of a Roadhog, so it's absolutely lovely for that. But Roadhog in a bad place right now simply because he's going to have less ultimate charge, he's going to take more damage because Discord and damage amp has increased, and he's going to be able to not heal as often as he could because you have Ana Amari and he's a big sleeper target as well. It's not a good place for Roadhog right now. Zarya will remain really strong. There's just no reason why Zarya won't be really strong. Reinhardt also will remain strong. Reinhardt will have to be a bit more careful about charging recklessly if there's an Ana on the enemy team, just because Sleeping Dart is so effective against that. But otherwise, I don't see any big changes with Reinhardt. Winston scares the shit out of me right now because damage amp has been increased, and Ana Amari's ultimate is insanely good on a Winston because he's next to impossible to kill, will have increased mobility, and will hit everyone on the team. It's literally the same as basically running two Winstons, except you're running one and he has faster run speed. It's crazy. That combination of Winston plus Ana Amari is just redonkulous. Again, it's one of those things that I think might need addressing, especially if if you have that damage mitigation. It's just ridiculous. It's insane to me that, you know, you could even think that that's balanced, because Jesus, it's not. Just ballpark mass, Winston will deal about 78 to 80 let's just call it 80 DPS. Okay, that means in 2 seconds, that's most of people's health. In 3 seconds, they'll be dead. On a Winston that basically you cannot escape from and cannot be killed. It's ridiculous. If a team clumps and Winston has that ultimate on him, he's just going to kill everything. And by the way, Ana ultimate and Mercy damage boost, I believe, do stack. So yeah, that's a team sweeper. That's an absolute team sweeper, and there's no way that should make it into pro level play. If it does, I will cry. And you know, somehow I forgot to mention D.Va, so let's talk about her, because she's actually a lot stronger than she was now. She's honestly pretty damn good, and honestly not bad for a front line as well. Her defense matrix, the change to it, is absolutely huge. It can just scoop ultimates out the sky. These pro players will be playing on 60 tick in tournaments, and so it's much more likely that you will be able to just pick things out of the air with that buff, and it's really damn cool. Like, I like that. I find that exciting. I think the ability for D.Va to just sort of act as, I don't know, like a goalkeeper, catching and saving your team, you know, catching balls and saving your team is going to be huge. That's really cool. That's really exciting. At least I find it exciting. It generates a little bit of hype type of, can the D.Va stop Zarya coming in? Will the Zarya sort of find a way around it? How are they going to position it around each other? That's really cool. I have seen pros talk about D.Va being a lot more viable now. Her ultimate is also just way better, and because the assault maps will be in pro level matches, I will be very surprised if D.Va on attack does not become a staple, just because her ultimate now is so much stronger than it was for clearing a point, and D.Va can just stay on it nice and safe and take the point. D.Va is now a really good offensive tool and just a good defensive tool as well. I think she's in a much better place than she was with this patch. I'm going to be curious to see how she ends up and if she does stack up against some of the main tanks. Again, she suffers some of the same issues as Roadhog, where things like the orb will really hurt her, but at the same time she brings a little bit more utility and a lot more evasiveness. She isn't relying on healing like Roadhog is, and so can't really be stopped if she starts to zip away. She also does a good job against some of the more in vogue tanks as well, so she's pretty damn good at tank busting. That's nice to see. Now, all of this actually does lead to an interesting position where your team wants a Lucio as well at some point. So how do you fit all this in? Are we going back to the days where we might have 3 supports? 4 supports? We've seen what happens when you have a 4 support lineup. The olden days used to run things like double Zenyatta, Symmetra and Lucio, and it's not the healthiest position for the game. Now, with the 1 hero limit that will probably be enforced in all tournaments from now on, simply because it will mirror the ranked ladder, it's going to be less of a problem. But the idea of running a lineup that has Mercy, Zenyatta, Ana and Lucio isn't actually as far-fetched as it sounds. Run it with a Winston and run it with something like a Reaper. Actually, no, run it with a Winston and run it with a Soldier 76, I would say, if I had to guess. Maybe a McCree. And you will be looking at a really, really strong lineup that's probably going to be really hard to kill as well. Just so much healing going into that. That said, Ana actually might solve that kind of lineup at the same time, simply because, hey, she can block healing, and that's really damn good. Right now, no one is really certain on how things are going to end up, especially with the volatility that Blizzard could just, you know, go back on a few of these changes. This is why we have a PTR. This is why I urge people not to panic when you see changes coming to the PTR. Odds are they want to test a couple of things, like can we bring Mercy back up to 50% damage amp? Let's just see how that looks and see how that feels, for example. And I urge Blizzard, no, don't bring her back up to that, because the world is not ready for that. We are not ready for a 50% damage amp Mercy, trust me, we're just not prepared for it, especially if you're going to be buffing other sources of damage across the board and, you know, having a way to remove healing from other targets. We don't need that extra damage, especially with Zenyatta coming back in as well. Zenyatta much healthier, by the way. A lot of pros are fairly happy about that. I'm sure somewhere out there, Chips Harjan is smiling. At the end of the day, I imagine the Mercy change will be reverted, at least the damage amp side of it. The Resurrect change is fine and can stay in, trust me. We needed that Resurrection nerf just to open up the door a little bit for other supports, and also it was getting tiresome watching team fights and basically having to wait for the Resurrect every single time. It was really irritating, and so it's nice to have that, I don't know, the option now where you can bring the Resurrect, but you could also bring something else. Otherwise, aside from the McCree damage buff, where I think it might be reined in just a tiny bit, just reducing some of that effective range, I imagine that most of these changes will probably go through. Overall, it's an interesting time to be alive. That said, Pharah is definitely in a dicey position. Pharah will always be in a bad position whenever damage is basically very high, and snipers especially are in vogue. Widowmaker honestly might make a small comeback as well if Zenyatta makes a comeback, because then Widowmaker's damage is pretty damn fearsome. As long as Zenyatta is calling out targets, basically you get a sniper spotter team, and you can get some real long-range threat going with that. That said, Widow is still in kind of a dicey position right now. I think when the skill is there, people will play her. I mean, she does occasionally come out every now and then in pro-level matches, so I'm honestly fine with Widowmaker's position in the game right now. So, too long, didn't read? Well, Pharah is down, supports are up, some of the tanks are down, Winston could be horrendously overpowered as it is now, Ana needs an ultimate nerf, and that's honestly about it. The patch is actually really cool right now. It's fairly volatile in terms of how the meta is going to shake out. I do think there are a couple of things, you know, do need reining in, but it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks going forward. I just hope they manage to get it out in fairly good time, because the clock is ticking. Gamescom is just over a month away. I'd like at least a few weeks just before that tournament does come around, so teams can be prepared and ready for whatever they're going to be playing on. Otherwise, thanks for watching to the end. This has been me thinking about the pro level meta and how that's going to go in the future. at least how things as they stand right now. I'm curious to know what you guys think. If I miss anything obvious, I sometimes do. I am known to do that every now and then, but honestly, Pharah is the big one for me. Pharah is the really big one for me, and especially because teams have now been like hunting for good Pharahs. Losing Pharah is actually pretty huge. It's gonna be like when Genji was nerfed all over again. Fun times. Toodles.
Play of the match.
Nerf this!